New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Welcome to I Know You Didn't Ask. I'm your host, Megan O'Donnell, and happy Monday, everybody. We have a long week ahead of us. But did you hear my wedding do's and don'ts episode that came out last Friday? It's a smashing success. 0 views on YouTube, quite literally. It doesn't even say 0 views. It says no views. It's like, okay, we get it. We haven't even hit 1, so we can't even talk numbers at this point. So people have been listening on Acast, don't get me wrong, but check out my YouTube channel. And I Know You Didn't Ask Pod. We've gained, I believe, 7 subscribers in the last week, which is record-breaking, groundbreaking news for us here at I Know You Didn't Ask headquarters. So be sure to tune into this episode on YouTube, and you can actually check the show notes and you'll be able to easily find the YouTube link. I'm wearing a gorgeous pink sweater. It is my favorite sweater. If you know me in real life, you've seen me wear this like wool pink, bright, very kind of Easter themed sweater 10,000 times. I wear it in the summer, I wear it in the spring, and I'm going to wear it in the fall and the winter. So it's a year-round situation. This year might be the last year I can wear it, and then I have to retire it. If you guys don't know about retiring clothes, it means you have to give away those pieces that you really love just because they've been photographed to death. You've worn them to every party. You've worn them on multiple vacations. It's gotta go. And you can give it to a great, place to be rehomed. You could sell it on Poshmark, but it just has to get the fuck out of the house. So we have a lot going on today, people. I saw The Lion King on Broadway yesterday. Just a gorgeous set. So many great and well-behaved children in the audience, I have to say. I'd never seen it on Broadway, and I've seen a million shows every year, and I can't believe I've never been, but it was beautiful. The dancing was great. The singing was great. The story was gorgeous. I'm like constantly like teetering on the edge of a breakdown. So here I am like walking out being like, Hakuna Matata, right? No worries. Like, let's not stress life. But it did take me 32 years and seeing the show on Broadway to realize that I am Timon, a cheeky little meerkat, sarcastic, a little annoying, obsessed with eating. Like, I am Timon. So, again, it's the new me, and I've been calling my dog Pumbaa for the last 48 hours. She's deeply confused as to who Pumbaa is, but she'll figure it out soon that she's actually the Pumbaa to my Timon. So again, Hakuna Matata, baby, don't stress, live in the moment, let things go. I'm telling myself that in real time. I need to let things go. Again, we're not going to get too deep into what's going on in my life, but I do need to let it go. Let the mouse go, to quote Sutton Stracke, the most, brilliant philosopher of our time. So we have to talk about my hyperfixation because I don't know why I've taken such a serious and keen interest in Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau, who have been photographed together. It's not just them splitting some appetizers and maybe, getting a pasta for the table, with like a paparazzi shot of them blurry in the background, or them on the tasteful yacht that we discussed last week. If you didn't hear about that, tune into last week's episode to hear about the tasteful yacht the two of them were cruising on out of Santa Barbara. And the two of them have been hand in hand spotted in front of the paparazzi, which is a sign we want to be seen. We are an item, we are a couple. And this is serious. The relationship is real. I will say I'm not even a Katy cat. I don't even know why I care so much about this, but I feel like I like an underdog. I like when the person who's been beat up for the past year or so, gets with a hot guy who people also kind of hate. I just think they're a match made in heaven. And if you see Katy Perry in the outfit that she was wearing, walking hand in hand with Justin Trudeau, it makes sense why Trudeau is you know what, I might become an American citizen for this woman, because she looked so stunning in this skin tight red slinky little dress. And I just have to say, Katy, whatever you're doing, keep it up. And you know what? She needs a win. And if it could be a fashion win, I will let her have it at this rate, because the poor girl can't catch a break. She went to space and people hated her for it. There were other people up there, but for whatever reason, Katy got the worst brunt of it. And I don't know, maybe I'm growing a heart. Maybe I'm just growing up and I'm seeing her flaws and her career missteps as sweet, learning moments. She'll have them in life, I'll have them in life. I feel like I'm growing up with Katy Perry in real time, and it's beautiful. Who would have thought? I was also thinking Katy Perry's fans are Katy cats, and I'm wondering, is Justin Trudeau's fans Troubadours? Like, is that a thing? And if it's not, we're gonna make it because I'm a troubadour and I'm a Katy cat. I've said it here first. This is the first and probably last time I'll ever talk about being a troubadour or a Katy cat, but I'm just so happy for them. And Mazel tov, Mazel tov to the beautiful couple. All right, let's talk about the latest of what's going on in television. Euphoria season 3 is coming back. There's nothing I love more than glamorizing high school drug use and abuse, violence, just like deeply horny kids. Like, I don't know. The show is a little twisted and does make me terrified about being a future parent someday. The last season ended in February of 2022, so I basically have forgotten everything. My brain during like 2020 to 2024, honestly, is pretty much just mashed potatoes. Like, I don't remember anything, so I am going to have to do a proper rewatch before I go into season 3. But again, horny, violence, drug-fueled high school drama, unfortunately, that's kind of like where I shine, and that's exactly what I want to be consuming. We have to talk about some of the people who are going to be on this upcoming season. So Euphoria is going to have 18 new cast members for season 3, including Trisha Paytas, did not know she was acting, Natasha Lyonne, obsessed, and if you guys watched the Pee Wee Herman documentary that I raved about a couple weeks ago, Natasha Lyonne was an OG little kid on Pee Wee Herman, which, you know what? I guess I didn't realize she was like a child star from the jump. There's also Danielle Deadweiler and Eli Roth. And then what this show is actually really good at is finding and developing new young talent. So they have a bunch of newbies who are coming on. I don't need to say the names of a bunch of people none of us know, but I'm very excited for season 3. I mean, I guess the criticism of the show was that like kids don't really act like this, but I mean, there were some kids who certainly were. Like, I wasn't. I was like never like the fun hot girl, like the Sydney Sweeney. I was definitely more of like the freak smoking, swag weed, like in the back of my 1992 Saturn, like listening to Lady Gaga with my friends. Like, I wasn't living the Euphoria life, but that is what I really wanted. I don't think this show is targeted towards children to watch. I feel like it is targeted towards young adults who are hopefully past high school age. If children are watching this show, then of course it's going to be like glamorizing drug use and violence and a bunch of things like we shouldn't be really glamorizing. But I mean, I don't think parents should be letting their children watch this. It's not like when I was younger and I was watching like the OC, which actually did have a lot of drug abuse, violence, horniness. Actually, you know what? Let kids watch it. Who cares? They're going to figure it out eventually. And you know what? Maybe they'll watch Euphoria and be like, I don't want to be a total like dirtbag loser and like my parents hate me and my friends hate me, but I'm like hot. I don't know. I mean, you never know what, kids are going to see in the media and take to. But I honestly feel like, kids playing like games where they're like murdering people in video games is a lot more harmful than a kid watching Euphoria. But what do I know? I'm not a parent. Barbie Ferreira, who played Kat, ended up leaving the series in the summer of 2022, so she won't be back for season 3. And then, unfortunately, the guy who played Fezco, Angus Cloud, ended up passing away back in July of 2023. So obviously, they're going to have to figure out something to do with his character. But you know what? They have some time. There's no update on timing that they're shooting, timing of when it will come out. So it is a good time to rewatch it. I will say my husband was like, this is really dark and sad. Like, why are we enjoying watching this show? And I'm like, I don't know. But I didn't realize that Hans Zimmer was handling all of the music for the first 2 seasons and now season 3 as well. So that was kind of interesting. I was like, Hans Zimmer? How the hell did he get involved in this? Speaking of Hans Zimmer, he also was a part of The Lion King's original score, as was Elton John. So going to Lion King yesterday has really opened up my mind, my brain, and my heart. And so, you know what? The more you know. Okay, let's talk about some other, I guess, horny shows. This like TV corner is very horny, which is it a portrayal of how I feel? But Hunting Wife season 2 is officially picked up. No surprise there. That show actually had a really interesting trajectory because it wasn't supposed to be on Netflix. it was, I think, on Showtime, and they ended up shelving the show, and everybody in the cast just thought, okay, it's going to go nowhere, whatever. Then Netflix ends up picking it up for distribution. And at that point, it was a really fast turnaround between when they picked it up and then when they put it on to the streaming platform, and then the, massive success that, followed. And even the cast was like very shocked about, the kind of sudden success of the show that they had filmed years ago and, kind of forgot about. They just thought, all right, well, on to the next project. Maybe this will come out into the world, maybe it won't. And unfortunately, lots of shows end up on the cutting room floor and just go nowhere, which is really sad. RIP to the possible show that Alison Roman was supposed to have on CNN. It was going to be like a travel food show. And I believe she filmed the entire thing, but it just went nowhere. So, you know what? Maybe one day she'll like put that on like a premium YouTube channel, but God knows she doesn't own the footage, and CNN's probably just like, fuck it. No one watches our dumb shit anyways, so let's just file, delete, fuck it, we don't care. But Hunting Wives is coming back. Of course, Sophie and Margot, who were initially like not girlies, obviously like become friends again. Of course, I'm not going to spoil anything that happened in season 1, but the two of them, had a very intimate friendship. Again, horny MILFs unite. And I'm excited for season 2. I really liked season 1, and that was one of those shows that you like watch very, very quickly. There was like sex, guns, fabulous parties, wealthy, big, beautiful homes. Again, it's all the things that, people want to see. White women behaving really poorly. Which leads us to Big Little Lies season 3 is also slated to come out sometime in 2026. So season 3 will be a bit of a time lapse from where season 2 ended. And honestly, I don't even remember if I finished season 2. Like, this is another show that's kind of like fallen to the wayside. I don't know. Like, nobody's talking about Big Little Lies. But season 3 is coming back. Of course, we'll have a stacked cast of ladies: Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, Shailene Woodley, Laura Dern, Zoe Kravitz. I mean, it's a really star-studded cast. And unfortunately, I find a way to bring it up every episode, but Nicole Kidman's wigs are horrific. But I really figured out that, this was a huge problem for her, a problem for her and a pain point for me was when I was watching Big Little Lies and I was noticing her wigs and I was like, what is happening here? How does the show not have the ability to get her like the best wig maker in the industry? But that's besides the point. So of course, season 2 kind of dug deeper into like the aftermath and the legal consequences and the emotional fallout of the women who are living in this beautiful town of Monterey, California, after, somebody's husband died for good reason. And you know what? Again, another show I'm excited about. And again, there clearly is a huge market for like horny, rich white women behaving poorly. And it makes sense. It's fun to watch people, betray one another, cheat, lie, steal, kill, murder. Like, it's like all of the, the deadly sins on our television shows. People like to watch this stuff because you're hopefully not, doing those things in real life. It's more fun to watch someone like kill their husband on television than it is to, kill your husband in real life. Wow, Megan, you did it again. The queen of a segue. This is just coming off the dome. I can just spitball like no other. Speaking of couples who are in hot water, Kristen Bell and hubby Dax Shepard celebrated their 12th anniversary, and Kristen Bell posted a weirdly like infantile photo where she is bear hugging him like a little koala with their mama koala. And she posted the caption, "Happy 12th anniversary to the man who once said to me, quote, I would never kill you. A lot of men have killed their wives at a certain point. Even though I'm heavily incentivized to kill you, I never would." And so I get it. They are like a funny couple. Like, that's like their bit. They've always been like, haha, we're funny and normal and we just happen to be famous. The caption was a little alarming, and it's always alarming when the Dateline Instagram account just wrote screenshotted comment section, because they're now watching this couple, because this is an uncomfortable anecdote to share with the world. Again, like, I don't know if you're trying to like be relatable, like, oh, I just want to kill my husband. I don't know. I guess I've been married for a month and a day at this point. But I feel like I wouldn't air that out, that my husband has told me that he would, one, never kill me, and that a lot of men would have killed their wives at this point, I guess 12 years in. They say that there's a 7-year itch. I didn't know there was like a 12-year, murder hit out for you. And then he says, even though I'm heavily incentivized to kill you, I never would. What does that mean? And what is Kristen Bell's life insurance policy? I can't imagine why this man who has, fathered 2 children with this woman would be heavily incentivized to kill you. Everybody's been talking about this very weird caption, and I guess it happens to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is devastating and observed every October in the US to raise awareness about domestic violence, support our survivors, and promote prevention efforts for, future domestic violence survivors. And, so timing couldn't have been worse for Kristen Bell. And it kind of reminds me of that like meme where it's just like we know too much about each other. I feel like I know far too much about their relationship and like their stinky kids. And I'm only calling them stinky kids because like years ago they were like on a press junket for something and they were like, yeah, we don't really like bathe our kids unless they smell. It's like I get that, but I feel like a kid should be like a toddler like every other day, if not like every day. Again, not a parent, married for a month and a day, so what do I know about that? But I don't know. I'm just gonna hope they don't have the stinky kids in school. But Dax to me reads stinky. Like I see him and I'm like, you're disheveled, and you're lucky you got a girl as hot as Kristen Bell, who I have worked with and is beautiful and lovely and like great and all, but like this whole thing is unfortunately at the same time that she's promoting her new show, Nobody Wants This Season 2, which I watched in a day and a half. I really like that show. I love the characters. I like the writing. And I'm like shocked that I enjoy it because the Foster sisters kind of annoy me. So again, I'm shocking myself day in and day out here on this podcast. But the show was really funny. The show was good. Season 2 was really fun. And it's like quick and bingeable. And I don't know what I'm going through in my life, but every time, I was just going to call him Seth Cohen, but Adam Brody's character is like doing some kind of sermon at the synagogue, where he works. I'm crying. I'm sitting there crying. I'm like, should I convert to Judaism? And of course, that's like the main conversation of the whole fucking show. And it's like not rocket science, honey. He can only be with you if you convert. And, we're going to have another 5 fucking seasons of like, am I going to convert? Am I not going to convert? And easier said than done. I know like religion is like deeply serious and deeply personal. But what's so confusing? You fell in love with a rabbi. You didn't fall in love with a guy who's like, you know, casually Jewish and might do Shabbat here and there. Like, this guy's a fucking rabbi. His whole life is around Judaism. So if he finds you and you're not going to be ever willing to convert, like, it's not shocking that like he might be like, yeah, this might not work, like out of logistics for his life and the life that he wants his children to have, because he expresses that he wants to be a parent someday as well. I feel like my biggest issue with Nobody Wants This, which I guess I could talk about, the ending is a little bit anticlimactic and basically the same ending as season 1, but that's besides the point, is that I don't feel like Kristen Bell's character's name should be Joanne. And I know a couple Joannes in my life, but they're all like my grandma's good friends. And I just feel like them naming her Joanne is odd. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I had the Foster sisters here on the pod, that'd be first question at the gate. Well, actually, I probably would ask a little bit about David Foster and like what it was like to be near Yolanda, and like how many times a month was she doing that lemonade diet where it was like lemons and cayenne with a little bit of honey. Like, how often was she just drinking that and not eating? OG almond mom, if you know, you know. But yeah, second question would be, why did we choose to name the protagonist of your show Joanne? And her sister's name is Morgan. So it's not as if like, it's Joanne and Claudia. Like, it's just Joanne and Morgan. So I don't know. Maybe it's a family name. We'll never know. But that's always something that's been just eating me alive. I just don't see her as a Joanne. But again, what do I know? But I like the show. It's really fun. Season 2's on Netflix right now. Definitely give it a watch. And you know what, Kristen Bell, I hope you don't die at the hands of your husband. I know I'm not like making light out of that, because people do get murdered by their husbands all the time, unfortunately, and vice versa. I shouldn't say it's just one-sided. Equal opportunity murder representation on this podcast. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to have to wait and see. I should like set a calendar invite for myself for 12 years from really, again, a month ago, and see what Matt's post is for me. He posts like very sweet things at this point, but 12 years in, God knows I'll probably do some things that would incentivize him to kill me. But I hope not. I hope it doesn't get that bad. Jesus Christ. So she actually ended up canceling her Good Morning America appearance a couple days after this whole drama has happened, because I guess, she couldn't deal with the public scrutiny. But like, I don't even know who hosts that show anymore. Fucking Kathy Lee and Hoda and like Jenna Bush Hager. I don't think Jenna Bush Hager is going to be like, so let's break it down to brass tacks. Are you okay? Blink twice if Dax is going to strangle you in your sleep. I don't think that was going to be the fodder of the conversation on the couch. Nobody Wants This season 2 out now. I support this. Speaking of other Netflix shows, you guys, why do I love Meghan Markle so much? I have such a love-hate relationship with Meghan Markle that needs to be studied. But there's going to be a holiday version of With Love, Meghan, and it's going to be out sometime in December. No specific date yet, and no teaser yet, because honestly, I could do like a whole teaser episode where I go through, a 45-second teaser, and within, 52 minutes, I can break down every little moment, break down every guest, and really hyper analyze what's going on. So there is going to be a seasonal episode, and I just want to make some predictions as to what I think will be on With Love, Meghan's holiday edition. Of course, she's going to be making a peppermint bark. She's going to be like taking like a bunch of little candy canes and like putting them in this black bag and like smashing them with a cute little mallet. And she's going to be like, and then we're going to make homemade dark chocolate, not milk chocolate, increases serotonin naturally. And she's going to then sprinkle the candy cane bark on top of the chocolate. And she's going to then, package it up in a cute little cellophane bag. There's going to be ribbon and there's going to be little tags and, of course, adorable, just like absolutely adorable. Mind you, this is going to be star-studded. You have to imagine the celebrities that are going to be on this season. I mean, will Kristen Bell reach out to Meghan directly and say, Meg, Dutch, I need you to do me a solid. I need to come on with Dax, and we need to be cheeky and funny and giggly, and we're just a good time couple. 12 years in, no killing spree this holiday season. They're going to be easy breezy, light and fun, show the world how cool and quirky they can be, right? We are obviously going to be making a potpourri. She's going to be like with, little dried oranges. And of course, so many cinnamon sticks, so many warming spices will be involved in this little season of holiday magic. Can you fucking imagine how many cloves that prop stylist needs to get for this special? She's single-handedly going to increase the clove production in our country. Popcorn garland, of course. She's gonna put it around the tree. And again, like, she's going to be putting the popcorn garland around a fake tree in her fake living room with the fake gifts for her real children who don't live there. It's mental gymnastics. Of course, there's going to be wreath making, with many different types of, beautiful old branches, pine, cedar, like eucalyptus. I don't know, but she's going to be finding it. She's going to be sourcing it in her yard, of course. And, there's going to be like little ornaments. There's going to be velvet ribbons. Just going to talk about her ribbon work that she learned at the Paper Source, of course, because that is one of her number one most relatable things about her. She did work at the Paper Source. Never forget your roots. She's going to make snow cones with real snow. Does anyone remember the winter solstice episode from the show Little Bear? That's what I think she's going to be doing. She's going to be like going outside and putting real snow into a little snow cone and drizzling like a cinnamon sugar drizzle on top. But the problem is she's shooting in Montecito and it doesn't snow. So, they're going to have to bring in fake snow, and it's going to have to be a whole big production. I'm telling you, what she'll do for this art is, knows no bounds. And that's what I love about Meghan Markle. It's the winter time, which means chunky sweaters, chunky hats, chunky earmuffs. She's going to be making those muffs that you just put your hands in, like a young American Girl doll. She's going to be knitting things using multiple shades of beige. We know she doesn't deviate. And last but not least, how is she going to be incorporating flower sprinkles into the holiday season? Okay, I'm Italian, so we make struffoli in the holiday season. What if she puts flower sprinkles on the outside of her struffoli instead of little sprinkles. You guys, I'm blowing my mind in real time. Wow. Oh, of course, I also jumped the gun here. I also meant to mention we're obviously going to be needing to be painting things, whether it's like an ornament, a pine cone. She's even going to make coal like wholesome. She's going to say, yes, you might be getting coal, you ungrateful little bitch. But if you take some thin gold paint, you could paint the outside of the coal and you're still an ungrateful little bitch child. But here you have beautiful hand-painted coal from mom and dad from M&H. Again, will be watching, hate watching, I don't know. Am I enjoying this? A little bit. I don't know. Again, I'm jealous of another Megan who has a lifestyle-based show, but again, I'm not jealous of her complete and utter lack of charisma. Unfortunately, you can't buy that when you got your title. You could buy a lot of things in this industry, but you can't buy charisma, and sorry, girl, it just has to come natural to people, and with you, doesn't exactly come supernatural. Okay, we have to jump into Hilaria Baldwin, someone who also lacks charisma at such a deep level. So, as we all know, she devastatingly got kicked off of Dancing with the Stars. We all saw her dancing with her partner Gleb, which you could tell she was in love with Gleb. And I know things are probably a little dry with Alec. I mean, given like how he looks and like his body, like I would hate to see him with his shirt off. But she was clearly in love with Gleb, and they were doing all these like videos, or they were like incredibly intimate, like on social media, and it made me want to throw up for this, mother of seven to just be eye fucking this, dancer who does this with everybody. Like, let us not forget what he did to Brooks Nader, one of my new idols in this life. Team Brooks all the way. But, since she's been kicked off Dancing with the Stars, she did the full, media tour and was saying she was bullied off the show, and people online hate her so much because of her fake, Spanish background and her code switching that is needed to be done so she can assimilate into American society, when she, in fact, was born in Boston and is an American citizen, and her family is so American that they literally date back to the Mayflower. Like, you cannot be more white bread American than that. She's like, yeah, but my dad studied Spanish and was a scholar of, all things Spain. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't make you Spanish. Like, my dad loves the Dallas Cowboys. That doesn't make me the daughter of a football player, you fucking idiot. But she has serious issues beyond, like, delusions of, being a Spaniard. So now she's going on her publicity tour saying she was, bullied off the show and whatnot. And I just have to wonder, like, what is next for Hilaria Baldwin? She's come out with a bunch of books that nobody's read. She does Dancing with the Stars. That was a pretty big one considering her past as a dancer, which she thought, I believe, would like really catapult her to like winning the show automatically. But, fans vote on this show and nobody was voting for her. And that's really not surprising, given how much the internet hates her. And if you guys haven't, sauntered over to r/Hilaria Baldwin on Reddit, you're in for a rude awakening to find out all of the lore about her. I'm not going to go too much into it because I am going to be doing a Freaky Friday episode about her, but unfortunately, like, my depth of knowledge about her is like a 6-hour show, so I might have to like, I don't know, I might have to like, cancel a lot of plans in my foreseeable future because I'm going to be so knee deep in research. But they say she's faked some of her pregnancies and had, moon baby bumps, and we all know, like, she quote unquote had one of her children and then she had a surrogate 5 months later. So it shows you that they're not unfamiliar with working with surrogates. And so there's a lot of lore about her that has made, the public kind of feel uneasy about supporting her. And, I'm very, sympathetic towards like mentally unstable people. And I kind of think she's in that world, especially after she was like exposed for like not being Spanish. Like, her very defensive videos that came out immediately after were basically like, why does everybody care? Like, I'm a white girl. Like, I've never said I wasn't. And then it's like, well, you did though. And so that's the problem, and that's the confusion here. So that's besides the point. She's off Dancing with the Stars. What is she going to do now? I mean, the poor girl really, decided to have all these kids without Baldwin instead of like maybe like focusing on like what she could actually do with her life and like parlaying this like yoga mommy persona into like a yoga YouTube channel or like maybe a fitness studio in New York. Like there could have been so many things that she could have done, but instead she just wanted to like flash her big tits and like be a hot mom who like 48 hours after having a kid is like on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like that was more of her vibe. But now I feel like that's going to become like very sad and a vapid existence. And I think like her clinging on to this Dancing with the Stars momentum she's been having is like gonna fizzle out, and I worry for her because again, if you go to her TikTok, she's been making like constant videos of like any trend that's happening she's involved in. Like there's like a video crew and editors and all this shit around her. It's like, honey, you're not gonna take off. You're 40 years old. Nobody wants to see you prancing around your fucking balcony or like doing weird videos with Alec. Like I think the only thing she can do at this point is have baby number 8, and I think that's honestly probably the next option for her. And I was reading recently about a woman who live streamed her own birth, and I feel like Hilaria is going to do that. She's going to say, "Watch me give birth to baby number 8 on Instagram Live." Or TikTok Live, wherever she can make the biggest bang for her buck. And honestly, I don't even know if she's doing it for the money. I think she's simply doing it for the attention, which is even sadder. But yeah, I think baby number 8 is going to be announced. I don't know. I give it 6 months. 6 months before baby number 8 comes. Mark my words. And you guys, I've been predicting things on this show left and right that, have been coming true. So I'm very proud of myself. I will say her stepdaughter Ireland is, back on her fucking Substack. I'm sorry. Ireland Baldwin is the biggest fucking forever victim. Yeah, your dad called you a pig. Whose hasn't? Like, get over it. She's always, oh, my family, my dad. I grew up without 2 parents in my home. I had no siblings. She said people in her life were incredibly poisonous. She's going to protect her daughter from these people, and she's going to do her very best to construct her own idea of family piece by piece, which is beautiful. Good for you. You can right the wrongs of your childhood by carving a new path for your family and creating new traditions and creating boundaries with people, and that's great. But like, we're doing it again on a fucking Substack. What? Just go to therapy like the rest of us. Put your shit out there. Like, nobody cares, Ireland. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, she's like the most obnoxious nepo baby for me because of course she's like been given the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like being the child of like 2 very famous people and like being in between them in a very contentious divorce. And of course, like, your dad is fucking Alec Baldwin, like an absolute nut job, and then he marries this fucking fake Spanish woman and has 7 kids. Like, I understand. Like, this girl has seen some shit. She also has seen her trust fund go from like 1 person getting it all to now 8 people having it to be split between. So poor girl, that would do a number on my psyche as well. But like, start your own life. She started a restaurant and wine bar closed. She's a model. I don't model anymore. She's like, I want to write screenplays. Where are they? Like, come on. I don't know. Like, sometimes I'm like, these fucking celebrities just fucking bitch and moan about nothing. And you know what? Some of these nepo babies are actually like successful and on their own. And then some are just like so fucking lucky to just have every door open for them. And then they still can't even walk through that fucking door. So I don't care about you, Ireland Baldwin. Sorry, you have a beautiful baby, a beautiful home, seemingly a beautiful partner. Like, I know life can suck a lot of the times, but let's cut it out with the fucking Substacks. Was it your cousin Haley Bieber who was messing with you? I don't know. Probably. She's like, fuck, Haley's got it all. Haley's married to a nut job, so she really does not have it all. Let's jump right into Bravo news. First, we have to talk about Luann de Lesseps being confirmed that she will be the voice of the Cowardly Lion in the upcoming Wicked for Good movie. And I am absolutely so thrilled to find this out. I feel like Luann's gravelly, masculine voice is going to do an amazing job as the Cowardly Lion. I had no idea there could be a role better fit for her. I'm so happy for you, Lou. Keep striving. Mercedes Javid and Tommy from the Shahs of Sunset have officially decided to break things off, have officially decided to break up after 7 years of being together. They do host a podcast called Till the Dirt together, so I'm gonna have to assume that show is going to be discontinued. Unfortunately, I'm not really surprised. If you listen to Mercedes on Jeff Lewis Live, you'll like get the gist that they didn't seem like they were really on the same page with their marriage and their future. which is unfortunate because I actually really loved them on the show together, and I thought their wedding was like one of the best Bravo weddings ever. I think this should be interesting to see how it plays out on the Persian style, the Valley Persian style, which Mercedes is one of the stars of. And unfortunately, there's a child involved. Divorce is all fun and games when it's just, two consenting adults. But when a child's involved, especially little baby Shams, who like protect at all costs, like I love baby Shams. I am just sad that, he's going to have to go through this. And let's not forget that like Mercedes' parents were separated, and that obviously did a number on Mercedes. So hopefully she's able to right some of the wrongs that she saw growing up in her future breakup with Tommy. But it's sad to see people break up because like I don't know, it takes a lot to get to that point. And so good luck Mercedes, good luck Tommy. I hope for the best for you guys in Shams. We have to talk about the new Bravo Mormon 3-part documentary with Heather Gay as the host. She is our bootleg Leah Remini, and she's trying to take down the Mormon church. And I gotta say, Heather, your family already wanted to disown you for being a bad Mormon and a good time girl. Now you're really cut off. Like, the 3-part documentary called Surviving Mormonism with Heather Gay will be out on November 11th. I'm very much making a calendar invite for this. And it will basically uncover the dark history of the church as she interviews abuse survivors, ex-Mormons, and former LDS church leaders. So she's getting into the deep trenches of the Mormon lore. And I cannot wait to see this because I've been obsessed with Mormons for a while. And there was this documentary on Netflix. It was called Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey. And it's about this one guy who was like church leader named Warren Jeffs, who was married to like a million women. And he was like 84 years old, marrying like 13-year-old girls. It was so creepy. And that was kind of like where I became obsessed with Mormon things. And then, of course, like the Salt Lake City Housewives like brought in a lot of like Mormon culture into my life because I wasn't like aware of that. I didn't grow up in an area where like I knew a single Mormon, and I don't think I've ever met a Mormon in real life. Like, let's keep it that way. I feel like the Mormons aren't in Jersey, and if they are, they're just like keeping their fucking mouths shut. I'm so excited for Surviving Mormonism with Heather Gay. I feel like she is like a very smart, articulate woman and can do so much more than just being on Housewives. And she just wrote she wrote a second book. She's probably writing a third at this point. And now this is like a new foray into a new world of her career. And I'm happy for her. And I'm excited for her to try to take down the church. But like Leah Remini, like it comes at a cost. These churches will fucking ruin your life. And like Scientology didn't stop because Leah Remini like made like all these documentaries. R.I.P. to Shelley Miscavige. Like, where is she? What's going on with the Sea Org? Like, there's so much about Scientology that I'm still deeply involved in. And also R.I.P. Mike Rinder. If anybody knew Mike Rinder, he was Leah Remini's like partner in crime. He was like a big higher up in Scientology who ended up like obviously leaving Scientology and started working with Leah Remini to, like expose like the insane abuse that these Scientologists were imparting onto their members. And he died a couple years ago, and he was like one of my favorite people on any of these like docuseries I've ever watched. And for whatever reason, like my friend and I like were addicted to Mike Rinder. And when he passed away, like I don't know, but it felt like an uncle died. Like it felt like someone I knew actually passed away. Anyways, moving on to Wendy Osefo in Potomac. We all know she's in some deep water when it comes to potential insurance fraud that her and her husband Eddie committed. So Wendy's lawyers are now asking for Wendy and Eddie's trials to be separate criminal trials. Basically, like one of the main reasons why you would separate your trials is to kind of try to like deflect blame onto the other one. So Wendy said, "Shot not. I'm not taking the hit for this. I have a very fruitful future on the Real Housewives of Potomac, and you're not going to ruin this because of a goddamn insurance claim." We talked about the Wendy Osefo situation a couple weeks back, so if you haven't listened to that episode, be sure to check that out. But one of the things that we found out since then is that we mentioned that there were some stolen items that they claimed on their insurance claim that were returned. But the returns actually happened before the burglary. So when the burglary happened, the items that they said were stolen were already sent back. So it's all bullshit. And I mean, I do believe in innocent before proven guilty, but the writing seems to be on the walls. But Wendy's lawyers are also asking them to dismiss some of the charges against her, specifically because some of the key evidence was obtained through unlawful search and seizure. So they're saying some of the information that they've been reporting on in this suit were obtained in a way that was not, I guess, approved or couth. So who knows what'll happen again. I'm sat back watching. Wendy is posting again on Instagram, basically on Sundays, just saying watch Potomac. People are watching her Instagram like a fucking hawk, myself included. So, good press for the show. And I am enjoying Potomac this season. Kieran is annoying. Am I the only one who thinks this? Like, what are we doing here? Oh, she's like a little fucking gnat in my ear. Oh, she just annoys me. I'm obviously team Stacy forever. Like Stacy's my dream housewife. Like delusional, beautiful. That's what I'm asking for in a housewife. I did want to quickly talk about Leanne Locken from the Real Housewives of Dallas. I know, blast from the past. But I just wanted to make a comment that I went onto her Instagram recently, and her name on Instagram is just travel content creator. Where are you going, Leanne? Where are you traveling to, and what are you telling me to see in these places? I just thought that was interesting. And I've also been noticing that Leanne, Carrie Duber, and Cameron Westcott have all been hanging out a lot lately, which is activating some of my spidey senses. Is there something going on? Are these three possibly ever going to be filming something again? Who knows? But you do not bring Dallas Housewives back without bringing Tiffany Moon, of course, or Deandra Simmons, because you know me, baby needs Mama D. Let's not forget Deandra is, I believe, going through breast cancer or had some kind of cancer scare a couple of months ago that we talked about on this show. So you're in my prayers. And hopefully Leanne and Deandra are still buddies, because they were like besties when Deandra first came on the show. But nothing ruins a friendship like the Housewives. And that's on God. Last but not least, we have to talk about Kyle Richards setting the record for being the only full-time housewife to be on a housewife show for 15 straight years. I mean, that's pretty impressive. People hate Kyle, people love Kyle, but I feel like there's some things I need answers to from Kyle. First and foremost, did Mauricio emotionally fulfill you? I don't think so. Did Kim really steal your goddamn house? Did Lisa Vanderpump plant the magazines in Brandy's bags that accused Mauricio of cheating? Was he cheating? Did you really say that Camille was nothing without Kelsey Grammer? Which, who else has forgotten about Kelsey Grammer being on a Bravo show? Like, wow, I need to watch season 1 of Beverly Hills again. And last but not least, what is going on in your relationship with Morgan? If we don't get answers, or at least a fucking breadcrumb trail of more information on the upcoming season of Beverly Hills, then I don't want it, Kyle. Then you shouldn't be setting the record. You shouldn't have 15 years. You should have stopped at 14 if you're not going to be true and real and frank with the viewers about what the fuck is going on in your life. Fortunately, you sign up for this show and you gotta bleed out. You gotta bleed out for us. Let us see what's going on in your life. Let us know what's going on with Morgan. We all know Mauricio is having fun wherever he goes. Aspen, Miami, wherever there's an agency office, Mauricio is, philandering there. So, come on, Kyle. Put on your big girl panties and tell us what's going on. Are you with Morgan? Are you not with Morgan? We need to know. This is what happens when you come on these shows. People get invested. And now I feel like I don't know anything about your life, Kyle, because you're lying to us. Lying by omission. Okay, let's end the episode with a bit about comedy wars. So a couple weeks back, there was this major comedy festival out in Saudi Arabia called the Riyadh Comedy Festival. So it was Saudi Arabia's first global comedy festival. And over 50 American comedians went. And of course, they made a fucking killing performing for all these Saudi Arabian citizens. So obviously this became a big problem in the world that we're living in today, as Saudi Arabia is seen as like a very oppressive part of the world. And all these comedians were all the same people who were like, Jimmy Kimmel needs free speech, he needs to be able to say what's on his mind, he should be able to say whatever the fuck he wants. Yet the irony of going to Saudi Arabia, which is a incredibly conservative and incredibly harsh place for people who practice free speech. It's just kind of ironic that, the same comedians who are championing, the ability to say whatever you want are going to go to a place that like does not let people say whatever they want and actually, kill journalists because of it. Some critics were saying that this festival was basically a kind of art washing, which is a new word alert. Haven't heard art washing before. But basically this comedy festival is allowing the comedy performances to kind of draw attention away from like what the Saudi Arabian government is actually doing in terms of like abusing human rights for their citizens. Of course, there were rules about like what they could and couldn't say. American political jokes, absolutely on the table. They absolutely ate that shit up. They loved it. You can't really make racy sex jokes because, again, it's an incredibly conservative area. And of course, you can't say anything negative about Saudi Arabia because, like, duh. And I mean, we can't not like acknowledge that, like, literally, like, the person who's paying all of these people to be performing at this comedy festival are the same people who are like executing journalists, like killing people with, non-lethal drug offenses, bloggers, like everything without due process. Like, it's a questionable situation. And especially so many of these comedians are like very much holier than thou comedians, like, social justice warriors, and then they go and take Saudi money for this comedy festival. So let's quickly go through some of the comedians who participated. I'm just going to go through like the bigger names because, like, I mean, like, nobody knows some of these people. Aziz Ansari, Wayne Brady, Hannibal Buress, Bill Burr, Jimmy Carr, David Chappelle, Louis C.K., Whitney Cummings, Pete Davidson, Chris Stefano, Kevin Hart, Gabriel Iglesias, Jennifer Curson, Bobby Lee, Sebastian Maniscalco, Sam Morril, Mark Norman, Russell Peters, Jeff Ross, Andrew Santino, Andrew Schultz, Tom Segura, Cyphus Sounds, and Chris Tucker, for just to name a few. So all these people went, and some people have been making as much as $1.6 million for a performance at this event. So as, like, capitalistic Americans, it's like, yeah, you got to make that money. And so it's kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia to do this festival. And, it's the first time they're ever doing it. So why not take advantage of the opportunity? But of course, so many comedians also said they weren't going to be doing it because of the atrocities that the Saudi Arabian government, practices on their very own people. So Mike Birbiglia, Shane Gillis, Stavros Halikas, and Akatsuka all said no, basically saying, like, how can you take Saudi money? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this country, like, we're kind of the people who paid the, people to do 9/11, so it's like not really appropriate. But of course, like, money's money, so people were going to do it. Tim Dillon was offered $375,000 to do it, but unfortunately was dropped by the organizers of the event because he was making slavery jokes about all of the migrant workers who live in Saudi Arabia who will have to be, working for them during this time. And so many of these comedians who did end up going said they had like the best time, and you kind of get like mixed responses for some of the comedians. Some people saying, oh, it was one of the best few days of my life. I learned so much about this other culture, yada, yada, yada. Whereas some, like Aziz Ansari, said he defended his decision, but then he ended up donating a portion of his performance fees to Reporters Without Borders and the Human Rights Watch. So it's like, no, I will take your money, but I'll give 10 grand to these, bullshit charities because, I see that there are, human rights issues in this country. And then Jessica Curson, who is a gay female Jewish comedian, received a ton of backlash because, as a gay Jewish woman, she couldn't like really, survive in a place like Saudi Arabia given her whole circumstance. So basically she ended up donating all of her money after receiving like serious backlash from her fans and people, out there for her participation in the event. She actually also canceled her appearance on Jeff Lewis Live, and it was only a few days after she, I guess, came back from the show. And so I was like, oh, well, that has something to do with, the backlash she knows she's going to get. I mean, she doesn't even know who she's dealing with because Jeff Lewis would have never even known this or ever brought it up because we all know that Jeff Lewis isn't like exactly like thinking about, human rights crises. That's like obviously not his thing. But I do find it rich that like someone like Whitney Cummings, who is like so self-righteous and very much like presents herself to be like compassionate and conscientious, and I was shocked to find out she did this. But also, you know what? Again, money's money and people need it. So when I guess she said, fuck it, I don't really care. I have no skin in the game. If all of my other, male comedian counterparts are doing it, then why the fuck shouldn't I? I will say that Dave Chappelle, of course, loudmouth Dave Chappelle said, quote, "It's easier to talk here than it is to talk in America," which is hilarious. Then he continues to say, "They're going to do something to me so that I can't say what I want to say," in regards to his fear about returning to the United States. And like, I just am so confused about Dave Chappelle because if you watch any of his Netflix specials that have come out in the last few years, and then like the Chappelle Show, any of his work that he's ever done, like he has constantly been saying like bizarre, homophobic, transphobic, racist shit for years. And so if he's like, oh, it's easier to talk here in Saudi Arabia than it is in America, like, what aren't you saying? What is on the cutting room floor that you haven't been able to say? Netflix gives you carte blanche to say whatever the fuck you want, regardless of if it hurts anybody. So what more do you need to fucking say? And now you feel like it's more comfortable to speak in Saudi Arabia? Bro, if you weren't a famous comedian in Saudi Arabia, you probably wouldn't get the same fucking treatment that you're getting. Like, let's be fucking real with the realities of our world. So the whole thing has been kind of bizarre, and the fallout's been quite interesting to see how the public has kind of addressed some of these comedians. And I'm like very deep into like the comedy world. I take sketch comedy very seriously, and I just have always been very interested in comedy in general, and to see the fallout that so many of these people have been having, and even like on these Reddit threads, the comments on their Instagram posts, like people are not letting up about their disappointment in some of these comedians taking this chance and going to Saudi Arabia. And of course, I see both sides of it. Like, of course, you could see like, okay, going and taking the Saudi Arabian money like might lack, I don't know, like integrity, or like, shows that people really only care about money and they don't care about human rights for others, which I get, but I also like think like it's a money making opportunity and this is their job, and so maybe they just said, fuck it, like, who cares? Like, also, we can't forget that, like, we live in a country that is consistently violating human rights. So, like, are they not supposed to work in the US either? Like, most countries have a history of, like, human rights violations. So, again, it's hard to kind of pinpoint who's the worst offender and where you should or shouldn't work. And again, like, I don't know, I'm not a fucking geopolitical scientist, so like, what the fuck do I know? But I don't know, there's also another side of it to say, like, maybe like the people in Saudi Arabia are kind of like slowly inching towards like maybe loosening some of those social regulations around people, and to hopefully like encourage people to like be a little bit more outspoken, or I don't know, ability to speak out a little bit more. But like, I doubt that, because it's like, yeah, it's fun and cute when like American comedians are saying it, but like the actual Saudi Arabians, especially a fucking woman, keep your mouth fucking shut, don't even open it, what's the point? Like, they don't really have the ability to say the same things that these comedians were just saying. So who knows? I'm pretty spineless, money grubbing, morally depraved. So, I mean, maybe I would do it. If they ask next year, bring I Know You Didn't Ask to Saudi Arabia. Now, that would be something to explain to the family. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to Saudi Arabia. Me. I'm a sellout. But no, I'm, not trying to defend the crimes and atrocities of Saudi Arabians, but I also need to get a bigger apartment. If you can see my background on YouTube, I need a bigger space. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to I Know You Didn't Ask. Great app, I gotta say. I love when I'm in the zone, in the auto zone. And you guys, what I'm really interested this week is this NBA poker scheme. I just started doing some research about it, and I'm hoping to have an episode next week on my Freaky Friday episode where I'm really going to break down what the fuck is going on, because there's a lot happening. My problem is that like I don't know anything about the NBA, so I like don't know the players involved. It's not like Wendy Osefo where I'm like, oh, I've watched her for 4 seasons on a show, so I know what I could talk about. But this NBA thing involves like the Gambino crime family and all this mafia involvement and poker schemes, and there's a lot going on, and I'm deeply, deeply, deeply obsessed. You know me, I'm obsessed with scams, I'm obsessed with fraud, I'm obsessed with the mafia, so that's very much like what I'm going to be digging into this week. But of course, again, in the vein of scammers, I will be talking about my Anna Delvey episode on Friday. It was so good to record. I'm really excited about it. And I unfortunately didn't put it out because the day or two, whatever I was going to put it out, I saw another podcast that I love, Snarkbait. They put their episode out. So I haven't listened to theirs because I can't really listen to episodes about the same thing I'm going to talk about just because it gets muddled in my brain. But I go listen to their episode too, but definitely tune into my Anna Delvey episode on Friday. It's going to be so good. I dress up like Anna Delvey because I'm a sicko, and it's going to be a great episode. And I'm hoping I can have my Love is Blind final recap probably next week, because I want to do it after the reunion, because the season was so bland that I really want to do it when it's like fully done. I can wrap it up with a bow and, wait for next season and hope for the best. So thank you so much for listening to I Know You Didn't Ask. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Megan the Podcaster. And you can follow and watch every fucking episode moving forward on YouTube at I Know You Didn't Ask Pod. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your week. Bye! New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube.